Well, hey. I am thrilled to talk to you about the Akashic Records because if you don't know the Akashic Records, then you don't really know Ascension. Or so saith our guide Shisahat, who is the keeper and creator of the Akashic Records. We want to spend some time today doing an introduction to what the records are, why they are helpful, and this is in a little bit of preparation for our full 3-week initiation that we do every so often here live online. And we don't really get to do a full 6-hour initiation here for you because this is just the intro. And when we do those initiations, they are really very specific to the soul group. The way that I work and the guides work through me is that we are a living transmission of this energy. We are a living transmission to wake up the souls who gather at specific times. So, if you'd like to join us in that initiation to learn your own records, check it out. I do them a few times a year, and really, truly, they are some of the most fun, and every time it keeps expanding into something that blows my mind open even wider. And heart. It's about a living field of energy that we're all contributing to on this planet now. I am elated to talk to you about the Akashic Records. I began my first trip in the Akashic Records 2001. That was in Chicago with my mentor, Lilith Irene Lovas. At that moment in time, when she opened my records, everything in my life began to change. I knew that it was something important happening, but I also knew it felt like home. As soon as I had my records open for the first time, really, truly, life did a hard 90-degree for me. Everything began to come into place. And I think it's the reason that I love sharing it with you so much. Because when you know the truth of you and your Akashic Records, you can't really look away. I mean, you could, but why would you want to? Once you have that illumination of self, of path, of purpose, of past lives through the Akashic Records, oh my goodness, then you start remembering a little bit of the magnitude of your power. And this is why we want to share the Akashic Records with you. And why does Akashic Records and Ascension go hand in hand? Well, the creator of the Akashic Records, Shisahat, or Shesat, you'll hear her called different names. I call her Shisahat. Shisahat. Shisahat is one of the keepers of Ascension. She holds one of the gateways. So as she allows more and more of us to go into our own Akashic Records, we activate this Akashic Field, we start vibrating higher on the planet, and Ascension is then underway. The more of us who can do this, the faster everything happens, and really, truly, this is why we feel like it's so important to share the Akashic Records with you. It holds the truth of who you are. Once you know the truth of who you can make choices to stay awake or go back to sleep. Who the fuck would want to go back to sleep? Once you are in your Akashic Records, or even in the Akashic Field, you experience truth. There are no lies that can exist in the records. It's not designed that way. It is a living vibratory field, and anything that is incongruent or disharmonic within that field, it will begin to feel like a glitch. You will notice it differently. Working within your records, knowing what's in your field, also stabilizes your awakening. Because, baby, once this makes a little bit of sense, then it feels better and you have the courage to keep on going. Because we all know in those early stages of awakening, and I don't even mean to say early, but in some stages of awakening, a lot of stages, it's fucking uncomfortable. Nothing makes sense. We feel like we're losing our goddamn minds. People are changing. We don't want to be around the people we used to be. Everything is almost like we've gone into hyperdrive with our sensitivity. It can be scary. It can be unsettling. It's uncomfortable at the very least. So working within the Akashic Field stabilizes this for you. It reminds you why you're doing it. It reminds you that it's natural to do it, and it starts showing you truth in the world around you. The Akashic Field is the ultimate deprogrammer because within it you will see the truth of everything as it is. A program can be anything as easy as all my people and my family are anxious, or it could be as big as you naturally die at the end of your life. We don't have to age. We certainly have stories of gurus who don't. So I want you to play with the idea of programs not necessarily being nefarious. It is anything that tells you who you are and limits the potential of what you can be. When we work in the Akashic in this way, we recognize the programs as karma, cause. We'll talk about that more in the initiation. But we want to free you from this karma, free you from the programs, so that you have the right to choose and you have the freedom to be the fullest expression of light as you're designed to be. What are the Akashic Records? The Akashic Records are the blueprint of the soul. They are the story of you. And it's not just a record for humans, but every event, every person, place, thing has an Akashic record. This is how, in the galactic scheme of things, everything is organized. So think of it like a giant library where anything that's going to happen, has happened, might happen, is recorded. And then if you want to get into multidimensionality with this, any possibility, anything that could have happened, great, it will branch off. There will be Akashic records of that as well. But for our purposes, we want to understand the Akashic record helps you understand you better. It gives you understanding of who you are, of where you've come from, and of what it is that you are here to do. In order to understand your Akashic record, you must understand the Akashic Field. Oh, I love the Akashic Field. And the Akashic Field is this vibration of life that is all around you. The Akashic is the invisible matter that holds all of the universe together. So different traditions, we'll talk about it differently. They'll all have their own understanding of it. It can be the Akasa, it can be the Akash, it can be ether, it can be the quintessence. All of these are different understandings. Even antimatter, thanks, if you watch the Thor movies, they'll talk about the Akashic as being antimatter. It's the invisible fabric that holds everything together, and it really truly is another element once you begin working with Thoth. So the field, it's a quantum field. It's all around us, but invisible to the human eye. It's vibratory and electric. So I want to give you an experience of this field right now. If you've ever taken psychedelics, you have likely seen this field. You know that little web that you see where you're like, oh my God, it's so beautiful, everything's interconnected. That's the web. That is the Akashic Field. And all of those lines that you see, that's the web, the Akashic web that holds everything together. So we want to give you a direct experience of this now because it's what we do here so that you can feel this field activate around you. So give yourself just permission to move into a little bit of a sacred space to receive. I'm going to do some sound over here so that you can feel what it feels like as it activates. And it's a funny thing because yes, it activates, but it's on all the time. So all that we're doing whenever I say activate the field, I'm going to give you an opportunity to kind of just put on a different pair of glasses. Pay attention to something you don't always pay attention to. So we're going to activate this Akashic Field by just taking a moment and breathing into you. You might even notice all of those cells in your body. Ooh. And feel yourself as a vibration, as a frequency, as light. And let that light now expand outside of you. And as it begins to expand, you'll notice it's not chaotic. It's with form and with purpose. Let that light expand into all of the cosmos now. Don't get too ahead of yourself. Just allow yourself to feel and notice it. Could feel a little like tingles. Could feel a little like disconnection. Could feel like kundalini or even a little orgasmic. Notice when you are activating this field really nice and wide, the sense of you or the ego dissipates a bit. You might even feel like you are being held on this web. You could try opening your eyes to see if, as a visual psychic, you can see it. I usually can't. I can feel it. I can feel it pulsating. And keep that field activated. And open your eyes when you're ready. So I want to talk to you about this idea of cosmic order. There is a purpose. And even as you closed your eyes and hopefully felt that field, felt it expanding, it could look like the flower of life, seed of life. Ooh, big spider web. There's perfect reason for all of this. Nothing here is haphazard. Nothing here is a mistake or an accident. There's a divine plan. Keepers of this plan, well, that's a whole different chapter now, isn't it? But there is cosmic order. There's a reason for all of this. And in that reason, as we continue this evolution, the evolution is inevitable. Ascension is the goal. There's a part that you get to play. And your part, my love, is your Akashic record. It's in the record, at least. In the records, you find your purpose, your part within this grand design of everything around you. The Akashic Field truly does hold matter together. It holds the invisible in form. And we don't want to get too heady about this, but I just kind of want you to imagine like an egg, right? And when you crack that egg, everything oozes, but whenever that egg is in its shell, everything is held together. So the Akashic Field is kind of like that shell, holding all matter in place in the right way. So this idea of cosmic order, it helps us feel a little bit safer. Helps us understand that there's a purpose for everything. There's a plan for everything. When you understand there's a plan and a reason for everything, it gets us out of victimhood pretty quickly. It doesn't let us stay there for too long. Certainly the human experience, ow, it can hurt at times. We're allowed to have our emotions. We're allowed to have our responses. And we're also given the freedom to be an enlightened being who chooses to clear it and free ourselves from having to experience that pain again. But when you really understand the Akashic Field and when you know your records, your place within this field, you'll realize there's no reason for stress. Doesn't mean we don't all experience it from time to time, but I want you to just really play with this idea for a second. If there's a reason for everything and you're exactly where you should be, why the fuck would you worry about anything? Stress is an addiction to pain. And worry is you programming the future with an expectation of pain. We want to stop doing these things. These are also programs. These are ways that we have been taught, right? If you have that belief that you come from a family of worriers, oh my goodness, you guys are just destroying and sabotaging things left and right. Let's just snip those cords. Be done with that limitation or that program of worry. It's not doing you any good. It's keeping you trapped in a loop that's bringing you pain and not allowing you to fulfill the light that you are designed to be. As you continue your work in the Akashic Field, oh, honey bunny, things can get real interesting in there. But I just want you to recognize when you're in that field and turn it on again for yourself, just remembering how easy it is. To me, it always just feels like switching over just a little bit, becoming aware of something that's always there. I just want to pay attention to it. And when you're in the Akashic Field, when it's activated around you, you will recognize it is a constant state of now. There is no past, there is no future, there is only right now in that Akashic Field. So it's in the Akashic record that events from past and future are held. And as we said, also from alternate timelines and dimensions, because that field is pretty interesting, pretty vibrant, and complicated. So we're just going to work with our 3D, 4D, 5D human understanding of the Akashic field for now. We'll work with higher dimensions of it, certainly in that initiation as we get you into your own records. But anytime that you're feeling stressed or panicked or uncertain, you can turn that field on. Kind of start to groove within it. You'll find as you work within your own Akashic field, as your own record in the Akashic field, it's kind of how you find flow state. I know who I am, I know what I am, I know how I serve. Paul Selig, some great activation and alignment phrases and mantras to work with. I know who I am, I know what I am, I know how I serve. And when you know that, because you know your record, and when you can activate the field, everything just works out pretty, I want to say easy. You'll still have lessons to learn, so don't think that easy is without lessons. It just means that you are kind of moving through faster because you're in alignment with where you need to be. That's when things get really fun. When you're working in the Akashic field, you are in a field of truth. No lies, no deceptions can occur there. And so as we're in these days of disclosure, activating that Akashic field will help you quite a bit because, god dang, we don't even know what's fake news anymore. We can hear one person saying fake news and it feels like fake news. So I want you to be careful of the way that they're manipulating you and just become aware of these things. There's manipulations. They have an agenda. They want you to not remember the truth of your light. So they put these programs in place that remind you that you're sick and that you need medication and that you should be eating bad foods. These are all of the programs at a global scale that are happening to us. And you, my love, activate that field and be like, fuck all that. You'll feel the truth of you. You'll feel the truth of reality. And it will give you a very handy tool to just kind of perceive what's in alignment for you and what's not. Doesn't mean that it's the be-all, end-all answer because truth also evolves. But if you're having a hard time navigating or understanding, or if you feel confused, goodness gracious, there's a lot of gaslighting that goes on out there intentionally and unintentionally. If you're feeling confused, I want you to just give yourself a moment, take a deep breath, activate that Akashic field, and then perceive it in a different way to see if you can navigate through to a cleaner truth that serves you. So we've talked a lot about the Akashic field. The Akashic record is going to be your part, your little piece of that pie or within the web. That's your Akashic record. The Akashic record is the etheric blueprint of your soul. It holds everything. Really, truly like everything. So it holds certainly past lives. It holds future lives. It holds soul contracts. It holds marriages. It holds all of the karma. Because it's the blueprint of what you need to achieve here as a soul in order to ascend and return into that divine state that you're meant to be in. The field holds the cosmos together. The records are your story of your part in it. If you've ever had an Akashic Records reading, you will notice that you feel better right away because it does move you into this place of truth. Having a reading in the records, it feels good because it aligns you naturally to the truth of who you are. So in that regard, it is more of a healing than it is reading. People who read the records are able to help you decipher choices that are going to be in alignment with that record for you. Sometimes it'll be able to look at partnerships and seeing when those contracts with partners are complete. I have worked within the Akashic Records since 2001. I really love the records and opening them for people because then we can see almost as if it's fortune telling, hey, this is going to be a good idea, this isn't going to be a good idea. So you can sit within the Akashic field, within the record, and you can see from this perspective future outcomes and if it's going to be in highest alignment with the soul or not. So let's talk about everything that's held in those records because oh, goodness gracious, this is where mastery comes in. When you do get the initiation to be able to read the records, a lot of times people are like, I don't even know where to start. There's so much in there, which is what makes it so fascinating, but also self-serving for who we are as humans. So most importantly, I think, life purpose. Oh my God, yes. You will find your purpose in the records. Sometimes you've got to go digging for it. Sometimes you've got to do your own cleanup so that that purpose shows itself to you, but I promise you it's always there. And if you're struggling to find life purpose, goodness gracious, it's not that complicated. You just need to remember what you love. Remember what makes you happier than anything. And oftentimes you will go, hey, how am I supposed to do that and make money? That's a fucking program. That thing that comes in telling you I can't possibly do that, I need you to recognize that's a limitation that somebody else has put on you. In the initiation, we will teach you how to clear those from your field as well, because they're not helping you anymore. Oh my God, we have no use for them. But they're still pretty fucking prevalent, aren't they? So when you can find life purpose, whether it's through doing your own healing or really just vibrating back into that place of truth and acknowledging what feels so good, everything begins to open pretty naturally for you. I think by and large, what I hear from people the most of why they want to go into the Akashic Records is for past lives. So past lives, oh my goodness. Well, you've got lots of them, and you have some on this planet and some off this planet. So in that regard, there is a galactic Akashic record that holds everything of where you've been, and there is a planetary Akashic record. So for all of our purposes right now, we're just going to work with your Earth Akashic record because it would get way too complicated to bloop, 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 expand into all of that right now. But if you choose to go through the certification, oh yeah, we'll get into that too, because I think it's really exciting. As starseeds, we really want to know what planets we came from so that we can begin bringing that level of consciousness through to us. So the past lives, chances are past lives are not always that glamorous, but it's the evolution of your soul. It's the lessons that you have gathered after lifetime in order to be who you are right here and right now. So when you know purpose of what you need to achieve and you know the past, then you have your frickin' map of how to navigate through this human reality, right? Know the past, know where I want to go. There's our navigational system, which is one of the reasons that I love the Akashic Records as well. Helps show us how to stay in alignment with where we want to be. But yeah, I keep getting away from these past lives things. But it really is pretty juicy when you can get in there. And why I use past lives in an Akashic record. It's not just to fucking entertain me. It's not just to stroke my ego. You have to be very careful if that's the reason you're going in. But I love working with past lives through the Akashic Records because if I can remember who I was and what I was doing, then I can also remember the skills and tools and knowledge that I had in that lifetime. Boof, bring it back in here. So call me a little lazy if you want. I don't always like finding teachers and needing to remember and be taught things that I've learned in other lifetimes. Fuck all that. We don't have time anymore. I want to go back into my past lives, see what the skill was, and invite it to come back in so that I can work with it now, present life mastery, to be able to lead and guide as I've been asked to, because that's my purpose. You'll find in the Akashic Records soul contracts. Soul contracts with every person that you encounter. That is a mighty big record. Edgar Cayce will talk about the Akashic Records as if it was a library and a book would open for each soul. And then for Edgar, he would be able to magically flip through and he would be able to literally read off of a page. I'm not that kind of a psychic. That is not my Claire at all. I have to feel my way through the records. For me, it's very vibratory. It's very alive. So in that regard, I can feel what I should be doing and what I shouldn't be doing, and I can do that for clients as well. It's not a visual, it's not a reading, it's not a knowing, it's a feeling what happens and being able to perceive, because there is no difference in time and space. We can perceive how it's going to work. So you will have soul contracts with every person you encounter. Certainly with your twin flames and soulmates in there as well. So if you're having trouble in a relationship, you can open your Akashic Records, go in there and see what the nature of this contract is. You might imagine that the nature of every soul contract is to remember we're all the same. Everybody is a teacher. Everybody is an emanation of you, vibrating at different levels and learning different lessons. Yes, but human emotions, perceptions, hurt feelings, empathic little feels. We sometimes need help understanding what the nature of some of these relationships are. being able to go into your own Akashic record and pull up a soul contract with any other person. Oh, things become a lot clearer and you don't get confused. Have you ever met somebody who feels like you've got an old past life connection and immediately you think it's romantic? It's not always romantic. Goodness, we just don't have time for that much. Everything is romantic in that regard, that we're all trying to vibrate back to love. But not necessarily going to be a romantic encounter that you need to have, and certainly not a sexual one. So when you're working in your own Akashic records and you have one of these connections, wouldn't it be fun if you could open up the record and understand what the nature of this relationship is? And certainly in that contract, being able to see lifetimes that you have spent together. It makes everything a little more purposeful and certainly enlightens your path as you move forward. Karma. Karma is a big part of what we do in the initiation, but I want you to just understand that karma is going to be any type of a program or a pain that has been passed down to you from prior generations. So any wounds that haven't been healed, they get passed down. They get sticky in your web. They just get passed to you because nobody's taken the fucking time to clean them up. As beings of the awakening on this path of ascension, it is our job to not only clean up our own karma, but to do ancestral clearing of that karma as well. When we do that, then we can carry more light within our energetic bodies instead of the karma, the stickiness, the heaviness that limits who we can be. The Akashic Records acts as a map to show you who you want to be, to show you where you've been, and to help remind you that everything is fine. Really, truly, for the most part, everything is fine. When you have made mistakes, chances are you will feel it in your body. You might feel it like a drop in your stomach. You might feel that, I don't know, what way do you feel your conscience whenever you've done something wrong, when you've stepped out of alignment? Chances are it will drop down into your belly like guilt or shame. If you don't have those feelings, you might be a sociopath. Really, truly. Most of us as awakening beings, we feel it when we've done something wrong. Knowing your Akashic records and working within the Akashic field allows you to understand. Even if you did make a mistake, great, I feel it. What am I going to do differently next time? So it's a tool of awakening in that regard because it makes you conscious of these things and gives you the freedom to make different choices in the future. It also can neutralize the illusions of pain and suffering. Those places of victimhood, those places of constant loops that we keep going back into because we think we have to. Maybe somebody's told you that you have to do that, or you're not allowed to outgrow your family because they're the ones who love you. So you suffer every time you're around them. And the suffering doesn't need to be big. The suffering can just be, God, it's uncomfortable and I feel gross whenever I leave. And then I get confused as to who I am. Yeah, baby. We've all been there, I think, with family or friends when we are growing. And being able to outgrow, being able to work within the Akashic field, to know your record, gives you permission to grow in a way that illuminates and highlights and expands all of your sweet soul to be more in this body. The Akashic, when you can work with it, also gives you greater compassion and understanding. If you can recognize first for yourself, great, I do these things because I'm hurt. I choose to heal these things so I don't keep hurting. You'll have compassion for others who are hurting because you've been there. When you work through the Akashic and you're working in that field of truth rather than the illusions and lies and the perceptions and the projections. Oh God, people project so many things about who they are. When you can get beyond those things and see the truth of anyone, you'll have greater compassion, which will, of course, make you more enlightened being on this planet. There's some other pretty cool bonuses about working within your Akashic records because it activates within your field a sign of enlightenment. It shows the universe that you are a being who is conscious, who's willing to do the work, and who's willing to take accountability for the actions that you take in this world. When you do that, guess what? The universe kind of blesses you a little differently. More favors are thrown your way because you are proving to be a benefit to this planet and not just a consumer on this planet. Not someone who's making a mess along the way, but one who's cleaning things up. When you work within the Akashic field, you'll have greater psychic senses for sure. Everything will be activated a little differently. You'll have a different understanding of how the world works. And as you do that, those who are watching and guarding the field, the creators, the cosmics, the galactics, they'll see that you're doing a good job. Things will get easier for you in that way. Not easier because anything is magic and you're more special. No. But because you're willing to fucking take responsibility for who you are and what you are. Your pain will lessen. Your illusions of suffering will start going away. You don't get to be a victim. Oh goodness, there are no victims in this world. It just doesn't work anymore. It's so sticky and so painful to watch it. So we all become lighter when we do our own work. We've talked a little bit about the initiation, but I just want to make sure that you really understand what that comes with, because so the Akashic Records Initiation is about a 6-hour-ish class. We break it up into 3 weeks. We do that several times throughout the year. The initiation gives you access to read your own records. It gives you, so today we've just talked a little informationally, so we do a deeper dive on a lot of these teachings and more. You get to know the guardians of the Akashic Records. You get access to your own records, and we also do some pretty intense work within the halls of a mentee. So really preparing you for Ascension. But this is all initiatory. We've got to do lots of clearing. We've got to do lots of blessings. So while today is informational, the initiation, you're stepping in and saying you want to participate in a different way. It's not passive work going through an initiation process. Shit will change. Things will become uncomfortable. You will have to confront, address, and face things that you may not have wanted to do before. So when you're ready for the initiation, do check out when I'm offering it again. And if you want to read the records for others, because we need more readers, we need more people who can help guide souls through this time of awakening. I do a 6-week certification program through the blessing of Shisahat that allows you to be a reader of the Akashic Records for others.